In this video, I'll be running through how we decrease CPCs on this account by 5 to 10x, depending on the region and the ad set that you're looking at. I'm not going to drag this video out. I'll jump straight to the point, which is that we launched partnership ads. And there's a few reasons why we did that. I want to show you the actual back-end Shopify metrics as well so that you can see the impact. And then I want to give you the formula as to how to do this correctly, because just simply launching a partnership ad does not mean that you'll get a 5 to 10x improvement in your ad account and then just become super profitable overnight. There's a lot of different factors that compounded together that allowed such an inflection in performance. For some context, we onboarded this brand about exactly 30 days ago from now. The first thing that we identified when looking at all of their historical ad data was that the highest performing ads came from partnership ads. And this was with a particular influencer. And so in case you've never ran a partnership ad before or you're not familiar with it, when you go down and you actually create an ad, there's an option to enable partnership and you can put a partner ID in, which essentially allows you to pull the post ID of a post that they've already put up on their page, and we can just run paid media spend through it. And so if I just move myself over here so you can see the CPC column and we look at the last 30 days, and I've done a filter here, it does not contain whitelisting. You can see the CPCs on this account sit at $3.67, really high, particularly when you factor in that their average order value only sits at about $110. And so it becomes very hard to become profitable on a store like this. And this was immediately identified throughout the order process. This is the metric that needs to be tackled. Ultimately, nothing else matters except for the fact that we need to decrease the cost of traffic substantially. What makes these numbers even worse is that this is inclusive of existing customers. And so there weren't heavy audience exclusions on any of these ad sets running on the time frame that you're looking at. And so these CPCs are ultimately looking even better than they actually are. Now, if we go over and then switch to our whitelisting ads that we launched recently, you can see that CPCs have now dropped to 89 cents. And that's not a small data set. We have $1,000 of spend here to prove that this is held. CTRs have gone up by a factor of about 2x. And in conjunction with that, CPMs have come down by about 20 to 30%. So CPMs have come down because the influencer page that we're running these ads through has about 500,000 followers. And so when you run paid media spend through an account with so much organic proofing, you end up with significantly lower CPMs because Meta automatically gives you a high quality score on the ads that you're serving. They trust the brand, they trust the page, and therefore you do not serve at a more expensive rate. Now, the immediate hesitation that you should have anytime you see figures like this is, well, conversion rates must have dropped. But in fact, conversion rates didn't drop. If we look at the conversion rate metric over here, it sits at 4.71%. If we go back to the other ads sit at 7.41%. You might go, okay, well, they did drop. They dropped by about 2x. No, they didn't, because all of these historical ad sets had existing customers being targeted. And so the new ad sets that we launched, we've excluded existing customers. We're getting a more realistic convergence to their actual conversion rate that's on the back end of their store. And we're now starting to look at some realistic figures. And so we've moved this brand from what they were at, which was a 1.7 acquisition MER, and they're now sitting at a blended close to 3 acquisition MER through the reintroduction of these whitelisting ads. Now, this is just one campaign. We can jump into another campaign here, and you can see the same story. So this is New Zealand, where we're operating at 44-cent CPCs, attributed 7-day click ROAS, right? There's no over-attribution here. This is 7-day click attribution with heavy audience exclusion, is at nearly a 7 return on ad spend. That's the highest efficiency this account has ever seen historically. And we have done this within 14 days of onboarding the account. And it was simply through identification of what has worked historically and then retesting old historical winners. And also the fact that this was a partnership ad. So what are the aspects behind this partnership ad that actually made it work? Number one, tons of social proofing across that actual influencer. So 500,000 followers. We didn't take someone with 5,000 followers or 10,000. We took someone with hundreds of thousands of followers, which has definitely improved the effectiveness here. And then the target demographic of that influencer is a perfect 100% overlap with the product that we're selling. And so the selection process of the influencer in conjunction with the actual size of the influencer is what has resulted in such incredible CPCs out of the gates when we try to push this through paid media. Then to layer on top of that, the actual piece of content that's running is obviously user-generated content. Anytime you're going to run some kind of partnership ad, it's going to be user-generated content of the influencer actually walking through the product. We have multiple pieces that are running, so it's not just one. We're giving the campaigns the opportunity to spend across a few. And the scripts have been done incredibly well. And so it's really these three different components all done well across the entire funnel that's led to performance like this. And sometimes you try to identify one specific thing, one specific hack that's going to allow you to 2 to 3x an account. But at the end of the day, it just ends up being that you need to be good across every stage of the funnel, across everything that you could be doing. It was good selection of an influencer, good social proofing, good target demographic overlap, and good scripting and a good ad. And the conjunction of all of those four things placed inside the right account structure with the right attribution settings as well as audience exclusions has resulted in a inflection in performance in this account. So if we actually go into the back end over here, you can see last 7 days, they're up 41% in sales. Their sessions are up 80%. So this is interesting. And this is something that you always need to be aware of. And it's kind of a separate lesson here, which is that when these influencer ads were launched initially, let me move over here. You can see that sessions went from about 700 a day all the way up to about 1.7 thousand. Okay, so there was about a 2x in online sessions. As a function, conversion rates over here dropped by 45%. So conversion rates immediately went down. And so when you see this within the first 24 to 48 hours of launching a new strategy like this, immediately, number one, if you're client facing, the client immediately is going to go, oh, this is terrible traffic. What are we doing? Conversion rate is falling. But number two, you as a performance marketer, or maybe you're an e-com brand managing this yourself, you're going to go, oh, this must just be junk traffic. It must not be actual high quality traffic. The issue is when we look at LPV to LC ratios, which is what percentage of this traffic is actually landing and caching on the website, super high, 88%. In fact, compared to the standard in this account, they were sitting at 60% before we came on board. And so this is not only high quality traffic, it is higher quality traffic than they have ever received in the ad account. Okay, so that doesn't really make sense. And so why did conversion rates drop so substantially? It was primarily because there is a conversion pathway from initial impression to purchase with almost every brand. Unless you have an average order value sitting at between $10 to $50, you simply won't have a time to purchase below 24 hours. So people are going to see your product, they're going to see your ad, they might click, but then it's going to take generally at bare minimum 24 hours before they decide to make a purchase from a future touch point with your business and then actually become a buying customer. And so you end up, anytime you scale, having a substantial uptick in traffic almost out of the gates, and then sales don't follow. And so conversion rates go down. And you go, wow, conversion rates are going down, sales aren't going up, we're driving all this extra traffic, and more importantly, we're spending all this extra money. Our ad spend has gone up. What's going on? And it's because you've added a bunch of people into the top of funnel, all these people that are now aware of you, they're in that purchasing journey, but they need a few days, or if you're high ticket, they need a few weeks before they actually decide to follow through and buy it. And that's ultimately why a lot of people don't end up scaling, because they go and push budgets up, they don't see immediate results, they pull it back. And it's, well, you need to wait for that purchasing journey to complete before you can actually see if it's been successful or not. And sometimes it isn't successful. And that really holds people back because they do that once and they go, oh, I'm never doing that again. But ultimately, if you never increase budgets or you never try a new strategy, you never will grow. And so you end up just hindering your business and you sit at 1 to 2 mil forever, which I've seen time and time again. And so what you'll then see over here in terms of total sales is there was this initial period where it was kind of hard to tell, like, are sales up, are they down? According to the trailing 14 to 30 day mean, we were up, but comparative year on year, we weren't really up. So wasn't sure. And then obviously you can see this sales volume has maintained ever since over the course of the last week. And this was really launched about 14 days ago, and then it started to pick up steam in the last 7 days. And so when we look at the last 7 days of data, that's when you really start to see conversion rate is starting to come back up. Sessions have stabilized. Average order value is fine. Orders are up 39%. Total sales are up 41%. And so we're starting to see this trickle through into online sales. And it's very, very likely that in the next 30 days, we're going to increase budgets by a further 25 to 30%. We're going to be able to compound more growth here. And we will likely be sitting at about 150% growth by month 2 of onboarding this brand. And so this is really a testament to deep diving into historical ad data to pull out those winners that has turned a brand into doing multiple 7 figures a year. Iterate on those tests. If they've just been turned off for an extended period of time, it's really as easy as just taking those old strategies and reapplying them into today to retest. And it's likely going to result in a significant inflection positively. And then the second core learning from this is run partnership ads if you can. If you have influencers that you can start to run collaborative ads on, and you do everything right, if you have good scripting, if you choose the right influencer, if it has good overlap with your current target demographic, you will see incredible results. But if you are okay at all of them, you choose an okay influencer, it's got a little bit of overlap, you don't use great scripting, the piece of content isn't that great, it'll all fall apart. 10% loss here, 10% loss here, 10% loss here, compounds to 30% decreased in performance from what you actually could be capable of, and you'll see no difference. And so things have to be done well for them to be executed and for the results to look like this. And so next steps, if you're an e-com brand, go and launch some partnership ads. But number 2, do it correctly.